Can you click it, please?
Are you asking me to?
If possible.
Can we hear me now? Okay,
I apologize.
no problem.
I just didn't see it where it's supposed to be exactly.
But a component of that disappointment is I thought that this collective was better positioned, maybe more so than in recent years, to not be in this similar place. But we are. And so there's obviously a lot of work to do. To be quite honest with you, I'm energized in terms of beginning the process and doing it because I'm a competitor. I love this game and this business, even when it's miserable. To be quite honest with you, I've seen so much in it and been through so much in it. I very rarely do I respond to present circumstance, whether it's positive or negative, because of the depths of the relationship that I have with the game. That they were the better team on Saturday night. I thought that was displayed. And that is not comfortable to say, but it is true.
Let go. Okay, I know I'm here to stay. Counting on my wins, so I can't play the same. Try to go against us, get you out the way. Go hard, it's the only way to play. Let me say, I'm a trendsetter. I'm a go-getter. I'm a trendsetter. I'm a go-getter. I'm a trendsetter. Who can do it better? I'm a go-getter. I'm a trendsetter. Hey, look, they keep calling me, could you ride this beat? Look proud of me. Okay, it ain't no problem. See, I can mold this thing like pottery. Better than I'ma bet on myself. And before the top, and I don't need your help. We set the tempo, we run this thing in simple. Let's go. Boy, I'm locked in. Know your place, I'm top 10. And all my haters watching, so you know I keep on clocking. Let's go time. My whole style of go. Mine. Take my place, I hold mine. Run up, then it's go time. It's show time.
Woo!
Ladies and gentlemen, Sapphire, job well done.
Ivory,
Chris Murray, job well done. We're here. Another one. Beautiful special effects, beautiful intro, Sapphire. Props to you.
Man, this is great. I'm gonna steal these ideas, right? You know that.
Welcome everybody to another edition of the Fear the North podcast. We thank you all for joining here tonight. My name is Irie Harris. I'm joined by my lovely people, Sapphire and Chris Murray. Thank you for coming back. How's everybody feeling?
All right.
I'm feeling great, man. I'm feeling real good. I've been feeling good all week.
Oh yeah?
Everything. Yeah.
It's that kind of week,
been
huh?
Feeling good. You know?
Yeah. It's not because of like any sudden like weather, right? Like it's not like it's like real sunny or anything, right? It's gotta be something else.
Oh no. The weather ain't got nothing to do with it. The weather ain't got nothing to do with it and everything. You know, I'm just feeling good, and you know, another week of football coming up.
Another week of football coming up, 100%. Well, you know what? Let's dive right into it. The Ravens and Steelers did play over the weekend in the playoffs, wild card round. Sadly, within the best division in football, at least in our opinion, of the 4 teams, only 2 made it. And within those 2 teams to make it, they were pitted against each other in the first round. Baltimore hosted Pittsburgh the 3rd time playing. And wouldn't you know it, Lamar and the Ravens exercised whatever Steeler demons were left. Bye. Rockabye, baby. The Ravens move on. How? Because they dominated a 28-14 victory. My people, immediate thoughts, impressions, like they're off, whatever else, regarding the Ravens and how they won.
Well,
Chris,
they still got
this is your moment, darling. This is your moment, your team. Take us to the promised land, brah.
Okay. Well, first of all, this is just step 1. This is step 1 of a long process. And the way the Ravens performed in that game, that's how they have to do it. And Lamar was still Lamar, okay? Lamar was still Lamar and made plays with his legs. As a matter of fact, if you want to get an idea of how their dominance was, on one of those touchdown drives, the Ravens ran the ball like 13 straight times. 13 straight times. At one point in the second quarter, late in the second quarter, when they scored a touchdown to I think it was the touchdown that they scored to go up 21-0 at the half. And finally, it was a time when the Ravens could kind of, beat up on the Steelers a little bit. And they left no doubt. As a matter of fact, I got a text from Sapphire after the touchdown scored by King Henry that
King Henry! Sorry,
it was over. 186 yards rushing on 26 carries. 186 yards rushing. Lamar Jackson gained 81 yards on 15 carries. In total, the Ravens ran for 299 yards. They ran for 299 yards, dominated Pittsburgh, and Steelers like to be physical. They took a page out of the Steelers, book and got physical and beat them down finally. But I gotta say, I'll enjoy that victory until tomorrow. I'll enjoy that victory until tomorrow because from that perspective, they got a game against Buffalo.
They do.
And Lamar still hasn't completely exercised his playoff demons as of yet. They got at least when they got to get through Buffalo. That's not going to be an easy game, and because Buffalo they do have experience at beating the Ravens in the playoffs.
They do. Real quick, OG, real quick, not to cut you off. I appreciate that. Before we get to that, because we're going to get to that, I promise we will. I can't wait to talk about that. That's going to be an amazing game. Sunday evening, 6:30. Be there, be square. The premier game of all premier games. Who's the real MVP winner? I can't wait. But before I finish out my Don King as regarding this game specifically, though, Sapphire, your thoughts within what would impress you regarding the Ravens game plan, how they went about it and won. Thoughts, please.
Listen, I'm a woman of a certain age, born in a certain decade. And the best, most simplest way to put this is the Steelers got taken to the tool shed. Never, ever, ever in my life would I live to see that type of smackdown, right? And God bless my brother, Kerry's soul, because he is rolling over in his grave right now. I never thought I would see another team dominate the Steelers' defensive line the way that the Ravens did. I just have never thought I would see that. And I can't even imagine what Steelers Nation is feeling. Yeah.
All right. Understandably precise and lovely there is. Thank you for that. As far as for me, it does pretty much echo what Chris said earlier regarding giving about the King Henry. Like, guess, and let's just play a quick game. Where do you guys think Derrick Henry ranks within the all-time playoff career rushing leaders? Is he like top 5? Is he 10? Is he 20? Is he a little lower than that? Let's just guess. I'm thinking of a number. Just say a number.
I think he's like top 5, 4. I mean, you think about Emmitt Smith, Franco Harris.
Okay, so top 5. Sapphire?
I mean, if we're saying 5, I would say number 5, because I look at that question maybe differently. For me, it's not just about a number like rush yards, total rush yards. It's that and the impact on the game. And did that player show up at a crucial moment in the game that changed the direction of the game? A real game, like where two teams are competing against each other, not what we saw last weekend.
Right. Thank you for that. I really appreciate that. Now, here's the funny part. He's actually 9th all-time, 9th with 918 rushing yards in the playoffs to his name. However, his 186, this made it 3 games now in his career in which he's rushed for over 180 in the playoff game. The other 2 times when it happened during the 2019 season, well, the 2020 NFL playoffs, the wins versus New England, and then Baltimore. Those upsets they're pulling up: 182 versus New England, 195 versus Baltimore, which was considering the upset because Baltimore was the number one seed in the AFC, the best record in the NFL, and he ran over them.
Yes, he did.
This does two
I
things.
remember.
Number one, it shows that he by far was not washed, and I don't understand why anybody would even think to immensely say that sometime during the off season. Number two, this shows that good things happen when you give them the ball. And actually, here's the third one I just came up with. Number three, this shows that they decided to go simple. They didn't overthink. They didn't overreact. They simply gave it to their best player in the backfield, the king himself, and said, "Run over them, take us to victory." And that's what happened. The man was getting over 7 yards per carry. Why wouldn't you want to give him the ball? He trounced over them any chance he felt. And you know what? I loved it. And let me tell you why I loved it. It has nothing to do regarding cheering for Baltimore or for Pittsburgh. I don't. But because there's such simplicity within giving your ball, giving a ball to your man in the backfield and saying, "Run over them, go," just letting him loose. But it's even much better when the team recognizes they have that strength on their team and they're not limiting him. They're not keeping him from doing that. 26 times. 26 times giving the ball. Even if he finished with half the yards, I would still be satisfied with that amount of times because that shows confidence in saying we know what we have in his backfield. He's going to break through at some point and give it for us. So let's give it to him. That is my TED talk.
I believe you got me in the mix with this fool. What'd he say?
Listen, you know what? Especially in this day and age where everybody's so enamored with the drop back, deep throw, right? And I see for me, you got a lot more younger coaches, younger people at the helm as head coaches. But that game proved that tried and true formula of establishing a run and then beating down your competitor's D line opens up everything else. I'm sorry. What more can I say to you? Tried and true.
It is. But you know what, though? Oddly enough, the game started with Lamar Jackson running the football. And a lot of teams don't want Lamar running crazy. And so who you going to stop? Pick your poison, right? You're going to give it to Derrick Henry, and he'll come up the middle and whatnot. Or, Lamar can pull that ball out, and he's 70 yards down the field. Mm-hmm. Because there was one play in the game where I saw T.J. Watt, as soon as they, when they at the mesh point, fed, like they were going to feed Henry the ball, then Lamar pulled it out, and it's 30 yards downfield.
Yep.
I mean,
and TJ looked up like, what just happened? What?
Yeah.
He acted like he had never seen a QB option before. He acted like he had never seen it. I'm telling you.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Confused.
And somebody just said that King Henry is great, but Franco was better for.
Oh, that's
I'm
Ronan.
not talking about rings, but see, here's the thing, and I have to correct this guy because I saw that era. I watched that era. Yeah, it helped that Franco had Lynn Swann, John Stallworth, Terry Bradshaw, Randy Grossman at the tight end, I think Benny Cunningham and all that. You had and Rocky Blyer, who could also run the football as well. Don't get it twisted. And Franco, for a while, was like almost like the all. And if you talk about Franco as an all-time leading rusher, as as someone who always led everybody in rushing in postseason, I'll go with that. It's not just, because I think rings go with, when you win rings, that's everybody. That's your quarterback, that's your wide receiver core, and also that great steal is the steel curtain defense that that had guys like Jack Lambert, Jack Ham. You had L.C. Greenwood and Mean Joe Green. Yeah,
Sapphire is just cringing at each of these names being said.
I'm ready to pick this laptop up and throw it through the wall. As a matter of fact, but check this out.
Wait until after. Not now. We need you now.
But check this out.
Like I said, I get pots and pans thrown at me by my wife every so often. So, like I said again,
I'm just
kind of looking at it like this. I don't. I don't think the true measure of anybody is just. I mean, rings. Everybody, because everybody shares in that. No one person wins a ring by themselves and whatnot. I mean, Franco was a part of one of the great teams of all time. One of the great, and like I say, to me, that team, the Pittsburgh Steelers defense was the greatest defense that ever played this game. Chicago 1985 notwithstanding. Sorry, but that was the greatest defense over time in the history of the National Football League. Not the 2000 Ravens, not anyone else, but the Steelers from 74 to 79, a 5-year period or 6-year period, dominated. That defense dominated football. That's what I can say about that.
All right. So listen, I'm gonna bounce this back to Ronan. Follow that up. Follow up that statement that you just made. King Henry is great, but Franco was better. 4 rings to 0. Follow that up with other reasons why you feel like King Henry is great.
Yes. In the meantime, while I'm waiting, whoever this Ronan might be to comment
You don't
this.
know who Ronan is? He's like one of our faithful. How can you
Oh,
not
yeah.
know who Ronan is? We apologize, Ronan, for that. I know who you are, and I appreciate you. All right, so let's go ahead and say hello to some of the other folks. The boss man, Willie Epstein Jr. in the chat. What's happening as well, and Mafia Members podcast. Irene, I'm going to hand that off to you.
Yes. Well, it's so funny you say it because I was just texting him and I was waiting until the end, to advertise it. But yeah, we're gonna just do it now. So everybody, Mafia Members podcast, shout out! Thank you for tuning in. We'll be there tomorrow as well. They're on every Wednesday, and oh my gosh,
see, here we go.
Well, I think it is.
Guest. I think we may have a special guest pop in a moment here.
What the? Hey.
I drum roll. I just wish I had a drum roll.
This is Mike. Don't worry.
Oh, he's teasing it up.
Once he gets the mic, once he gets the mic, he gonna But Mafia Members crossover with Fear the North this Thursday, 8:00. Be there or be square. We might even see if you can tune in. Sometime during this episode, maybe come advertise. Show itself because you guys need the support. Yeah. Those Mafia, terrific content, awesome things. Even certain things or angles within the team that maybe I haven't thought about from the outside that he'll bring in. So if you guys care about that, definitely tune in. Shout out Mafia Members. Salute.
Shout out 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on this Thursday. We are going to go deep up in those corners.
Amen. Yeah. Regarding the pod and the episode, regarding the game, that's it. Now, the Ravens had a terrific game plan offensively, defensively. Thoughts?
Come on, Chris.
Oh, what? Oh, hold on a second. Wait a second. Okay. Wait a second. I'm looking up something. We're talking about Buffalo and all
Ravens.
that.
Ravens D.
Ravens D. They've been number one in every category since they came back from the bye week. In terms of scoring defense and in terms of total defense, they have shot teams down in the running game. They're not giving up the big yards in the passing game that they gave up early in the season. Remember, Cincinnati was putting up numbers on them, and other teams around the league were putting up numbers. Heck, they even let Jameis Winston put up numbers on them. So now that's not happening, and I think that the Ravens' defense is good enough to stop the Buffalo offense, but it's not going to be easy because I know Josh Allen's going to make some plays in this game. It's not going to be, they're not going to run through them like they did early in the season. Buffalo's a different team now. They're a better team, and I think that in the end, but I do think it's going to be a close game, but I think the Ravens are going to prevail in this game. I think they will. I think Josh Allen's going to have a good game, but I think the Ravens will prevail.
All right.
My just general thoughts on the Ravens D is there's something to be said about the way that they defended just against the futile efforts that the Steelers made at running the ball. You know, I mean, that I recall, Russell Wilson had, if you just look at his statistics in terms of pass yards, he had what, 250, 251-ish pass yards, but it was the Steelers' inability to run the ball, get anything going on the ground. Like, Chris, what do you attribute your Baltimore Ravens to in terms of stopping the Steelers' run game?
Ah,
Well, because I think that the defensive line was always good. They were always tough against the run. It was just that now they put more emphasis on the passing game. I think they have a tough, they have a tough defensive line. Owe is pretty good. You got Pierce at the nose guard position. I mean, you got guys, and then you got, and then you have people at the linebacker position as well. You got Roquan Smith, and then you got my man. You got my, oh God, I can't think of. I'm having a senior moment, but you got a good linebacker core, and I think that they've been, and I think Orr has done a good job of basically cleaning up, because it was really the passing game that I was concerned about. The passing game, and it was one of those things, and it was one of those things where they moved Kyle Hamilton back to back to
Safety?
the safety
they
position,
did.
but also think Kyle Van Noy has done a good job. The front seven has always been stout at stopping the running game. What they have to do, what they're worried about, is going to be the passing game, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens. I know the Bills want to run the ball too, and they have a pretty good running back as well. But I think that what they have to do is really, they're going to have to spy Josh Allen, because Josh Allen's going to be on a lot of those runs, a lot of quarterback runs, and they're going to really have to watch out for him, and as well, because Josh Allen, like Lamar Jackson, can make plays on the fly, run out, and he can run the ball himself, and he's a pretty physical quarterback. So I think they have a good person in practice to go up against in practice, because they see Lamar, and so but it's not going to be an easy football game. I mean, the Bills aren't going to lay down and die on their home turf. That's something I don't think they're going to do. But it's going to be a tough. It's going to be a tough game. It's going to be a pretty tough game, and I'm just looking at it to be a 4-quarter game. It's going to be decided. I think the Ravens are going to win. Are going to win the fourth quarter. They're going to be at a position where they can run the clock out, and that's how I think this game is going to flow. It's going to be close for a while, and I think that the Ravens are going to make some big plays, in the third quarter or in the fourth quarter to pull away. And I think they're familiar, but I do think Buffalo is going to attack the Ravens differently from their defensive end, because usually in a game like this, the advantage is to the team that loses, because they're expecting them. The Bills are expecting to see Derrick Henry. They're expecting to see Derrick Henry left, Derrick Henry right. So it's going to be a situation where the Bills kind of know, and I think they'll make that adjustment. But the Ravens are going to make the counter adjustment to what the Bills are going to do.
Well, let me ask this then, just within a quick counter. Is there, not to get too far, but is there a case in which, or even just a scenario where Baltimore forces Josh Allen to rely more on his mobility compared to the passing? Because while there are people out there who like to call Lamar Jackson a running back who plays quarterback, however that may be, regardless of the gap within rushing yards, Lamar Jackson had 139 rushing attempts this season. He's only had, I want to say, 27 more rushing attempts, than Josh Allen, who was at 102. That's for a different day. But I mentioned that just when saying, is there a case in which that could happen?
I would say that, yeah. I mean, the thing about the difference between Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen is also at the running back position. You got a guy who's gained over close to 1,900 yards, versus James Cook, who has 1,009 yards. But he does have 16 touchdowns, and he's averaging 4.9 yards per carry. And so you have, I mean, it's kind of the same thing. But he didn't really run. I don't think he. I'm trying to remember if he played in that first game in Baltimore and whatnot, and if he had, if he tried to, if he had done something early in the game.
Yeah.
And so from that perspective, I'm kind of gonna look back to the game log and whatnot that they had. I'm trying to think. I'm trying to look at
Well, real quick,
their game log.
while you're doing that, Sapphire, the Ravens on the road. This is they're just coming off, last year where they actually were hosting everybody. They were the top dog, at least record wise. Everybody had to come to their house. Now they gotta travel. They gotta travel north.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been a while since Baltimore's been on the road. Is there a different mindset, a certain mindset, or something tweak wise that you see happening or occurring regarding Baltimore, or like within that angle of the game? What comes to mind when talking about that going on the road for Baltimore, at least?
I mean, just from my fandom perspective, if you're going to Baltimore, up to Buffalo in January, it's going to be cold as shite, right? Like freezing cold. It's probably going to be snowy, right? So for me, it's a mental adjustment. But I just believe that the Ravens are so special this year. If you look back at last weekend's game, they had 30 more plays than the Steelers, right? The time of possession, they had the ball literally more than one more quarter than the Steelers, right? They did a great job cleaning up those nicky-nacky penalties that they had been plagued with across the season, right? I think it was like 3 penalties for 14 yards. And their first downs, my gosh, they had like 29 or 30 first downs in that game. What we know is they cannot be stopped when they play the way they did on Saturday. Get the run going, whether it be starting off with Lamar first and then, infusing some Derrick Henry. And here to me is the most overlooked positive or advantage that the Ravens have. They have tight ends that can move the chains, man. So when I think about, and I know we're going to get more into this on Thursday with Mafia, I just don't see any way that the Ravens can lose that game unless they miss the plane.
Okay.
Wow.
Okay. And it's
and Mr. Epting Jr., write that receipt. Write that receipt, Willie.
Well, real quick before diving into that, I do also think it's interesting because just for a little quick nugget, the last time Lamar Jackson played a road playoff game was at Buffalo, in which they lost 17-3.
Yes,
so
did.
Between those two, that sole playoff matchup, at least until this weekend, Josh Allen does have that. But Chris, what were you going to say right quick?
I was going to say that, the whole penalty, I was going to agree with Sapphire about the penalties. I do think that this is a different Baltimore team with those two tight ends. And I think that I just don't want to see the Ravens get too cute and whatnot, that they abandon the running game, because it may struggle in the beginning. I think that the Bills are going to have 8 guys in the box, and I just hope that they're patient with it, that they don't get too much out of their game early, and that's going to depend upon what the defense does, because I think that even if the Ravens say fall down by a few points, I still think that you got to keep running that ball and running it until you get something going, because even if you get 3 or 4 yards here and there, the real impact, especially going into the cold, is going to be the second half. And I think Ravens history-wise, if you look at history, the Ravens, their 2 Super Bowl wins, over the last 24 years have, the road, their road to the Super Bowl was always on the road, and especially when they were the road team in the divisional round. They were the road team against. It was always against. They were road team against the Tennessee Titans in 2000. They were the road team against the Denver Broncos in 2012. So they're going to be the road team in this situation. It seems like the Ravens do a lot better in the playoffs on the road than they have. Now, I think Buffalo is another one of those demons that Lamar Jackson has to exercise, because the last time, as Irie pointed out, last time they played, Buffalo had his number. And then, and I also think Lamar got hurt in that game too. He got hurt late in that game. So I think this is another one of those demons that Lamar has to exercise.
I like that. Now, real quick, we do have a question from Ohio Gucci, man. How big of an impact?
Ohio Gucci Mane.
How big of an impact can Zay Flowers make if he plays? I'll answer that, first before we dive into it. I think the impact will be bigger regarding the mental side compared to the actual game plan because he's still be coming back and returning. His health will still be in question, but it'd be good to kind of mix it up regarding the mental side of things, regarding Buffalo, making them think how much of a role we're going to give Zay Flowers in the game plan. I still would, if I were Baltimore, I wouldn't look to use him as much in this game. That wouldn't deter from the game plan that I originally just had versus Pittsburgh, and the game plan I have going into this week, because in no way whatsoever am I going to worry about passing as much as I to Zay Flowers, as much as I'm going to give the ball to King Henry. And one thing that, I'm not really trying to dive into the, because I know a narrative that was always attached to Baltimore was regarding how good or not good the wide receivers were, and I think that's fair without saying that Zay Flowers is the best wideout that Lamar has on his team right now. Now, without him in the gameplay, without him versus Pittsburgh, I personally enjoyed the way that Pittsburgh's offense was ran. It was stable. It was good. I enjoyed the options that they used. I enjoyed the way in which Lamar didn't seem like he was forcing his passes. He only threw 21 of them, completing 16 as well. But I more so enjoy the fact that they gave it to Henry 26 times. They gave the ball more to Henry more times than Lamar, the number of passes that Lamar threw. I would prefer seeing that same exact game plan going into Buffalo. I'm not worried about putting a ball on there or winning within the air. Let's get it rough. Let's get it going, and let's win, however, by any means. And that's going to start by winning the run game and by stopping the run there else.
All right, let's get this quick update from Coach Harbaugh.
Yeah, that's in we'll see mode. He's working hard to get back, and we'll see toward the end of the week if he's practicing, and he could play without practicing for sure if he feels healthy enough and if it's safe for him.
That was Coach Harbaugh, an update on Zay Flowers. I hear everything you gentlemen are saying, and first, I love you guys. I will say this: Lamar Jackson is going up to the North with a bona fide, legit, future Hall of Famer running back. Okay. He's got 2 tight ends, right, that we discussed what they can do. And his legs, his other wide receivers. I mean, Bateman, Chris, talk to me. We've been riding on Bateman all season. He showed up. It's like all of the pieces, parts that the Ravens need to work together are coming together. They have come together. And for me, you talk about exercising a demon. I think in this moment, this is what Lamar Jackson is living for. Mm-hmm. He knows he has haters out there, right? Mm-hmm. He is absolutely embraced this moment, and he's going to go up there and he's going to lead those Ravens to a victory at Buffalo. That's where I'm living.
Yeah.
So thank you for the question, Gucci Mane.
Well, I'm going to say this about the impact of Zay Flowers. They need him. I'm going to say that just because he's the guy that can stretch the defense. But the Ravens have so many other guys that could do that. You got Tyon Wallace, and also people forget about Justice Hill. You all saw the play against Pittsburgh where Justice Hill is one of those guys that he's like a changeup. He's like a changeup to Derrick Henry in terms of the running game. But if you get him in space in the passing game, that's where he's going to kill you. And I also think Isaiah Likely is a good receiver along with Mark Andrews. And you saw a little bit of that. You get the ball to him, he can catch the ball. He's capable of going deep on a deep route, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see some of that on Sunday. But I think that what's going to really help is to get some of these receivers in these spaces where they can make plays, because I think that they got guys that can make. But if Zay Flowers plays, it's going to be the same thing. Zay Flowers can get open. I don't know if he's going to be 100%. That's the question. If he does play, will he be 100%? And will he be at his best? At his best level. At his best level. And I think if he is playing, I think like I say, he can stretch that defense.
Yeah, but let me ask you: would you play Zay?
It would depend upon if I knew he was near. If he was about 85 to 90%, yeah, I would play him. I'm not so sure, and I don't really know the extent of that knee injury. There's a lot of indications that that tell me that it's not a meniscus, and it's not a torn meniscus, and I don't think there's any cartilage damage. I think it might be sprained. I think he has a sprained knee and all that, but I don't think there's any. If it's sprained, then he has a chance to get back. If he's in the tub or whatever, however they rehab it or how they get him ready. But it's going to depend. It's going to, like I said, we'll see what happens in the week. I don't think he's going to be. I don't know how explosive he's going to be in this game. Will they run him Will they run him in the end arounds and all that? Will they do all those things with him? So it's going to be interesting. But I think they have some guys. I don't think it would be nice to have him. But if he's not 100%, they will adjust. I mean, great teams adjust to those situations.
They do. Real quick, Mafia Members Podcast. Who has more rushing yards? Josh or Lamar Villas?
It's a trick question. It's a trick question. But go ahead. Go ahead. Because I tell you what, if the Buffalo Bills and their fandom want Josh Allen out there running, let me remind y'all, folks, you're going to be playing against an AFC North team. They are going to crack that arse. First, they're going to start foaming at the mouth, right? Then they're going to hurt your quarterback. For me, that would be the last thing that I would want my Josh Allen, if he was quarterback of my team, doing is running the football against one of the best defenses in the NFL. Back to your regularly scheduled program.
Oh my God. Was that oh my was that like Vince?
That was
he gonna get hurt, y'all. He gonna get hurt.
I will not underestimate Josh Allen. I
that was like
okay.
I won't
write that receipt, boss. Write that receipt, Willie.
That was like this. That was like Vince McMahon-esque or something.
Right?
Man. Good. You put Don King to sleep like that.
And I'm not underestimating Josh. Josh Allen.
Play it safe, bro. Play it safe.
I got.
They don't want him running that football. They don't want him running that football against the Ravens defense.
I'm not going to take James Cook lightly, but I do think that if the Ravens shut down that running game and all that, I think they're gonna make him pass. But see, Josh Allen's not going to stay. If there's nothing there, Josh Allen's going to run. I expect to see a lot of design quarterback runs in this game. I expect to see. This is not going to be an easy game.
No, it's not.
It's not going to be an easy game, but I think that Lamar and I think someone asked the question: who has more rushing yards this year?
Wait. Lamar? Yeah. That's don't worry. We already answered that. It's by far Rich Gannon. I mean Lamar Villas. Don't worry. No, don't worry. You like that? So,
Rich Gannon, wow.
Real quick, we're gonna take a quick break. Sapphire Please take it to this quick break. We're gonna come back a minute 10. Use the bathroom, get popcorn, whatever. We're gonna talk from the other side. The Steelers. The season's over. What's next? What happens? Take us to break, please. Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. What shall we do here? How about replaying? Shall I replay the intro, darling? Or should I just say we're going to take a break? All right, here we go. For those of you that may have missed it.
But a component of that disappointment is I thought that this collective was better positioned, maybe more so than in recent years, to not be in this similar place. But we are. And so there's obviously a lot of work to do. To be quite honest with you, I'm energized in terms of beginning the process and doing it because I'm a competitor. I love this game and this business, even when it's miserable. To be quite honest with you, I've seen so much in it and been through so much in it. I very rarely do I respond to present circumstance, whether it's positive or negative, because of the depths of the relationship that I have with the game. That they were the better team on Saturday night. I thought that was displayed. And that is not comfortable to say, but it is true.
Let go. Hey, okay, I know I'm here to stay. Counting on my wins, so I can't play this game. Try to go against us, get you out the way. Go hard, it's the only way to play. Let me say, I'm a trendsetter. I'm a go-getter. I'm a trendsetter. I'm a go-getter. I'm a trendsetter. Who can do it better? I'm a go-getter. I'm a trendsetter. Hey, look, they keep calling me, could you ride this beat? Look, probably. Okay, it ain't no problem. See, I can mold this thing like pottery. Better, I'ma bet on myself. And before the top, and I don't need your help. We set the tempo, we run this thing in simple. Let's go. Boy, I'm locked in. Know your place, I'm top 10. And all my haters watching, so you know I keep on clocking. It's go time. My whole style of go. Mine. Take my place, I hold mine. Run up, then it's go time. It's show time.
There's our aspiring rapper, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, FTG. Wow. All right, let's ball.
Yeah,
so,
man.
Pittsburgh Steelers. It's over. It's done. They're screwed. Ladies and gentlemen, for those that don't know, I during the daytime I write about the Browns. Cover them, be at their games. And why is this important? Because I didn't notice at the time. I did not. In fact, I don't think anybody knew. But that day, December 8th, a Sunday, a sunny, brisk Sunday, I was in attendance for what would be Pittsburgh's final win of the season over the Browns. A 27-14 win that was. And multiple Steelers players after the game said it wasn't a get-back week relating to their loss in Week 12, the snow globe game. They said it wasn't a get-back week. It was a get-right week. They got right that day. After that, that was it. They haven't felt a win since, and they won't feel a win until next season, or the feel of what it feels like to win a game until next season. What even happened, guys? Not even just with this Sunday, because this wasn't sudden.
Yeah.
This matriculated, this carried up, and I know that we had, our very own Chris Carter, who covers the Steelers with the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, and he added a little more angle within, the inside of things. But from us, the FTN pod, what happened?
Well, first of all, shout out to Cheney Chris. We appreciate you. Looking forward to having you back on the show. For me, the Steelers had no offense. Like this last 5-6 weeks even, they didn't have good quarterback. I mean, honestly, Rue Wilson did not play well, okay? I really don't know if George Pickens is going to be back next year for the Steelers. I thought his descent over the last handful of weeks was probably very toxic in that locker room, very disruptive to the cohesiveness that you would expect to see a quarterback and receiver have. It was probably one of the best aspects of the season for me as a Browns fan. But for from from a Steelers perspective, like they have a number of areas to address on the offensive side.
Well, they do. And there were some things about them. I mean,
Hmm.
I don't think that they stuck with the running game. I don't know what happened to the running game. I think they were weak in the offensive line. I think they had two rookies, but with that team, I don't like how, that there were times when I think they were inconsistent of the latter half of the season. I think that they had problems scoring touchdowns.
Yeah.
Even in the win over Baltimore, they could not score touchdowns. They didn't get touchdowns in that game, and they could beat the Browns. I mean, they had that one big win over Cincinnati.
College football teams can beat the Browns. Newsflash. I'm sorry, I
Well,
interrupted you.
No. I could never say that about a college team, but I will say that maybe talent wise, George Pickens as a wide receiver, George Pickens, there were times, and to quote Shannon Sharp, there were times when he was bull jiving. That's what Shannon
Yeah.
Sharp says, in some of his and the attitude. But this has been, but that's but this has been a pattern. This has been a pattern with Steelers receivers. Do you know that Deontay Johnson got cut from the Texans?
He did. I saw that. He got cut. He got cut.
He got cut from the
bad.
Texans. He
Gentlemen,
got cut from Pittsburgh.
This is what I say though. There's so much drama with you men on the gridiron. That's it's no different to me than what may be happening with George Pickens. There's something going on between the ears, and I mean this on the straight up legit level. These men are so talented, right? That sometimes I think that offsets the fact that they're human beings and they struggle with things, right?
Right.
And honestly, just as a human being, I can tell you I'm a little concerned about Deontay Johnson. If you read some of the reports of what was happening in the locker room, that's a human being. But
Right.
props to, the coach, the Texas coach, who said very, very matter of factly, it just didn't work out. And they've moved on and they're looking, forward to their game against a Kansas City. I want to go back to something, Chris, that you said about no. It's not a bad thing. I want to go deeper a little bit about
You inspire us too, everybody. Salute. Sorry.
But I want to go a little bit deeper. You were on to something the last couple of weeks when you were talking about Tomlin and his position or potential position with the Steelers in terms of whether or not he would still be there, regardless of who made that decision, him or the Steelers organization. In this moment, on this day, what is your sense about Tomlin's future with the Steelers?
I think that Tomlin and the Steelers are going to come to a mutual agreement to part ways, and I think that there's a lot of factors. And again, one, they held on to Ben Roethlisberger too long, but they didn't have a succession program. I mean, even when Chuck Noll coached the team into the 70s, all those guys, Bradshaw, all those guys, Jack Lambert, got old. They got old, and then you didn't have that transition. And I don't think Pittsburgh, after Roethlisberger retired, I mean, look at the choice of quarterback. I mean, Kenny Pickett, who some Eagles fans have the nerve to say they can win with him without Jalen Hurts. Please.
Crazy.
Kenny Pickett
That's crazy.
He's a backup on the Philadelphia Eagles for a reason. Why did they think that he was going to be the guy to guide this team? Why? And my thing is, and then you get Arthur Smith, offensive. It's just they got a little. They needed young blood, even if they had to, because they they've won. They've had nothing but winning seasons, but they haven't won a playoff game since 2016. And I do think, that maybe it's not Tomlin's fault. Sometimes you're at a place too long. You're at a place. I think Tomlin would be a great coach in Dallas, but he could. I don't know if he could stomach Jerry Jones because Jerry wants credit for everything. But I think he's a good coach. He could go down to New Orleans. He can go to some other place. Andy Reid finished 4-12 his last year in Philadelphia. Done a lot of great things, but there was a point he was there for most of the 2000s, for most of the first 11 to 12 years of the 2000s. So I just think that with Tomlin, it might be time to go. It might be time to start anew, and I think he's been a great coach. I think he's one of the best coaches. And to be honest, let's be honest about something. To get that team, a team like that was picked fourth in the NFC North, to get that far, even though they kind of fizzled out eventually and whatnot, to get that team there. But the question is, do you want to just, finish well enough to make the playoffs, or are you going to, once you get to the playoffs, field a team that's going to make a serious run? Okay. So, and that's the question. I mean,
All right,
and this is not to say that Tomlin's a bad coach. It's not.
Yeah.
I'm not disparaging him, but maybe the organization, needs to do. The organization as a whole, not just Tomlin, needs to do better.
That's so fascinating because
That-
in our intro, he was very clear that he embraces all of the criticism. He doesn't live in it.
Right.
He embraces it because he's been around the game so long. And it's like, it almost felt like, to me, like a false sense of security, right? If I'm a fan, I'm like, okay, he's convinced me that he's still the guy, he's still the leader, and I'm going to roll with him. But then there was the Chris Murray perspective that you just gave. And I say all of that to ask this, and this is for both of you. Do you feel like he has purposefully, Mike Tomlin, put himself in a make it or lose it position for season 25-26?
Go ahead, Irie. I got to contemplate that one, but go right ahead.
Well, short answer right now, and less than a week of their season ending, I would say yes. Not so much within the sense that he can't. It's not even so much in the sense of like they're in a bad situation because they know what they're getting with Tomlin. They know they're getting a winning record. They know whatever kind of roster they throw at him, they give him. It could be a pile of dog, and they're still gonna find a way to finish 500 and over with them. The problem though is it's showing up and translating over into the playoffs. So by that, I would say yes, because at some point, especially for this franchise, one of those original, as Chris Murray said, typhoon football kind of organizations where it's football, nothing but that from top to bottom, nothing about 500 guys or companies, straight get the ball in the end zone. We know the game. You won trophies. You won Lombardi to come back to Steeltown at some point. And at some point, you're going to evaluate whether not just the roster, but also the coaching staff. So a part of me says yes. However, because you mentioned, it's so funny you mentioned Arthur Smith as well, Chris, because I was thinking like Russell Wilson played 11 games in the regular season, 11 games. What's 11 plus 10?
11 plus 10 is 21.
Yeah, that's how many RPOs he operated in.
Wow.
That's a career low. That's a career low.
Yeah, I mean,
like in Seattle, like he was nearly touching 40 of them. That's not even including the over 100 play actions that he was in.
Right.
This is a player by stature is not going to see highly over the offensive line. He's got the mobility, he's got the legs to use. Yet you're still setting up a shotgun with them, especially against a Ravens defense that knows him like the back of his hand because there's no secrecy within this division. Everybody knows each other and what they do. They know what they have for breakfast that day. They know what time to go to sleep. They know everything. Why are you not trying something different? Why not
I mean,
setting him up for success and operating within that? That's the one thing that pops at me within this coaching staff. The
but
OC.
let me ask you something based on that. Is that because of Rue's his age?
Ah,
36. I mean, and honestly, listen, guys, y'all know I'm going to bring my perspective. I couldn't help but notice he had an extra little roll in the back of his neck. Did y'all see that? That little extra pocket of, flesh, that indicates somebody could be packing on the pounds. And I don't want to sound, look, I'm a
no,
female. We get sensitive about our age.
I-
I'm just saying, I was looking kind of sideways at the TV saying, wait, what?
here's
I know it's cold and maybe he had some extra pads on, but I'm looking at that neck, that neck, the fat in the neck, right? And I'm thinking 36, okay, and then there's that fat in the neck, and then you just mentioned what you said about in terms of RPOs, lower number of those. Talk to me about the
well,
age and weight factor with Russell Wilson.
I think those are incredible angles to look at as well. Definitely so. However, at some point, at least come playoff time, especially come playoff time. Personally, I don't really care. If you don't think you're ready to run and give it your all and break your legs to get that first down, get off. Don't play in that
Mhm.
uniform. Or
Yeah.
if you just so happen you feel like it, maybe turn to your younger backup quarterback who had a 5-0 starting record in the beginning of the season. You
Boom.
know, I assume
And
that they
see,
might have had a package for him, right? A couple QB options here and there for a rushing
right.
grade. Only had 11 rushing yards in a day. I mean, 11 carries in a day. Go ahead, Chris. My fault.
No, I was going. No. I'm going to build on that with Justin Fields because this is how I feel about Justin Fields. I think, I think next if they're going to keep a quarterback there, no one has ever really worked with Justin Fields long enough to help him to develop into a good quarterback. You got a guy who has a nice arm, and you got a guy who can play, but he has played under instability with the Bears and with this team. I don't know if they might just if someone see the problem is that coaching staff under Mike Tomlin. I mean, are these guys good at are these guys good at making players better? Are they? I don't see that in this organization. I don't see. I'm just saying. Do you see? They're not an innovator. It's interesting that you mentioned the RPOs. That's fascinating to me because you would think with a quarterback of Russell Wilson's size and stature and ability, because Russell Wilson, he has a nice arm and he can work. He can work the middle of the field and everything. But the problem is that there's no was there any creativity in that Steelers offense in the passing game?
Well, I don't know that. I don't know that he, at least in the last couple of games that I saw the Steelers play, I didn't see him work the middle of the field.
No, I didn't see. That's what I'm saying. They
Okay.
weren't creative in getting
Yeah.
guys open, and they can go deep. They can go deep with with the George Pickens. But my thing, there were ways that did they use Pickens or any other receivers in slant plays, put them in situations like those RPO, you come up with a slant, you get about maybe 10, 15 yards downfield. I mean, did we see that from this team? Did you see any creativity in that offense? I didn't see anything. And they won games. I mean, they won games. I mean, they did win some games, and they beat a lot of lesser teams and whatnot. But I just did not see where they made any adjustments to get Russell Wilson in a situation where they can do RPOs, where they can work the middle of the field. Because everything with them was, hey, we gotta go deep with Pickens, and a lot of times Pickens did not always give that effort. And I think that's that's concerned. That that if I'm the team, I think they need a new offensive coordinator. They need somebody. They need people. They need talent, and they need coaches who
Byron
are going
Leftwich.
to,
Bring Byron Leftwich home. That's what I'm thinking.
Why?
But let's check this out.
Wait.
Okay,
all right.
go ahead, Arik.
Let's hear what Coach Tomlin had to say on the plans the Steelers may have for their quarterbacks.
Do you have a plan for quarterback?
Obviously, we don't have a quarterback under contract, and so We got some major discussions there. It was a really good experience with the 3 quarterbacks that were on our roster this year, individually and collectively. We certainly are open to considering those guys, but there's a lot of work ahead of us. And the major work, obviously, starts first and foremost with just understanding what our options are, what the field looks like in terms of free agency, what the draft pool looks like, and then beginning the process in terms of decision-making based on, known variables. And so, Omar and I have.
Omar. Yeah. Omar. Come on, let's go. Yeah.
We're having all of those discussions and acknowledge that those similarities exist. And obviously that's going to be a component of us in terms of our decision-making this time around relative to the subject.
I couldn't help myself. I could not help myself, okay? That's for our older fandom that remembers The Wire back in the day. He called Omar, right? So it sounds like he and the general manager are simpatico, right? If I am Rue Wilson, I'm already talking to my agent about my next potential opportunity, right? And then we're gonna roll right in. This is for you, Chris and I. We're gonna roll right into his comments on one Justin Fields in terms of can people see him as starter potential?
I think he took him. I thought that the way that he managed his professional circumstance was really impressive. I thought he brought an urgency to his day-to-day work regardless of his role. I thought he got continually better within our system of ball throughout the process. I thought the way he conducted himself makes that a legitimate thought or idea at this juncture.
All right. So first, thank you, I Am Woe podcast. I believe that's Dwayne. Thank you for that. But what are your thoughts on both of those clips, gentlemen?
Well,
Chris?
I gotta say, he says something about what their options are. Right now, they're not going to get the top 2 quarterbacks, Shador Sanders and good Lord, the kid from Miami,
Cam.
Cam
Ward.
Was the guy's name again?
Cam Ward, right?
Cam Ward. They're not going to get those two. Okay. I think you can't. If he decides to develop Justin Fields, all the football pundits are going to think he's nuts for trying to do so. But I don't think that Justin Fields, and I wonder if you guys agree with me. I don't think he's ever really been in a system where everything was about him. And I mean, he had a couple of bad coaching staffs in Chicago, and I think with the proper guidance he can play, with the right system and the right players he can play. He has a nice arm. If they do a lot of the RPOs, if they get a running game with a running back who's not bad, who's not shot or anything, but I think that if he gets receivers, I think and the right coaching and all that, I think he could be that guy. I don't think anybody. I think they need to find somebody along the lines of someone like a Cliff Kingsbury or something like that. Someone who understands mobile quarterbacks and dual threat quarterbacks like Justin Fields. And I know what I'm saying is not popular amongst our establishment NFL crowd, but I think like Geno Smith and some others, if you develop them right. If you find people who can utilize what they do, because remember, coming out of Ohio State, Sapphire, correct me if I'm wrong, didn't Justin Fields have a big arm? Didn't he basically pass Clemson out of the Sugar Bowl a couple of years ago when he was still a college player?
He did.
I mean, that guy has an arm, but the thing about it, sometimes when you are on a like the Chicago Bears organization, that's a horrible organization.
Yes, but Chris, let me just interject here. I'm agreeing with everything that you are saying. And this is the pro level,
Right.
right? You need more than a strong arm and to be athletic. You have to be able to, within that 20 seconds, that window of time you get when you're coming out of that huddle,
Right.
walking to the line, assessing the defense, assessing your line, checking to make sure everybody is where they are. You have to have the ability to translate that in your mind, right? And I mean this with all, I'm trying to take a lot of care because I'm being very serious about this. You have to have what Lamar Jackson has in terms of his ability to slow that game down, trust your teammates to do what they're supposed to do. And I'm talking about that O line, right? And it's almost like an intuitive feel, right? I don't know that Fields ever showed me he even had that in him at the Ohio State University. Completely different system, completely different style of play. I don't know if he can translate all of that into success on the gridiron. But I will agree with you that I feel the smart thing for the Steelers to do is to work with, keep him on that squad, use this offseason to really walk him through their system, which is why they need to hire Byron Leftwich ASAP or whoever their OC is going to be.
And
So
their
we can
quarterback
see
coach.
and their quarterback coach. And also they didn't exercise Najee's fifth year, right? So I don't know what that is going to mean for their running back position. But I think you are correct in terms of no one's ever really invested in Justin Fields. So, Irie, what are your thoughts on this?
I think that this is a beautiful conversation right now. That something that I really enjoy, talking about so much. Something that I think I'll give it another minute of before we pin it. But yeah, I do think that there is a sense of investment for Justin Fields. And real quick, before we conclude the show, just within like a little minute, Rush, if one might add, only because they are still part of the AFC North,
There you
you know
go.
the Cincinnati Bengals. Well, so actually, you know what? We're talking about Paul Brown's offsprings. All right, the Browns and the Bengals. Okay? One is his actual son. One was like the bastard child this season. I'm sorry, that's just what it was. All
You
right,
said
the
it. I didn't.
Hey,
I'm riding with you, Ivory. I'm riding with you.
I'm
I'll
riding
take the
with you
fine.
too. You my man. 50 grand. I got to ride with you now.
100. I'll take the fine. Bengals were 9-8. Now as we know, they lost their bid within the playoffs, and they're watching
Mhm.
the playoffs along with this right now. Moves are being made within the staff right now. They decided to fire their defensive coordinator, and now they are looking for a new one. Initial thoughts within this move happening, because that was really, I think, the consensus, right, regarding the problems within their team, right? Like they went like their offense was terrific, outstanding, triple crown, Joe Burrow going off. But what the heck was up with you know, Lou Anarumo on that defense? I don't know. But immediate thoughts within them searching for a new one.
I mean, I go back to that Kansas City game at the beginning of the year when I now I'm losing which player it was, but was it Wilson that turned to the sideline and you could read his
Hendrickson,
lips? No, it wasn't. I don't think it was Hendrickson, but
He,
he looked at the sideline and you could see him
they said,
say,
what the
"The
F are we
F
doing?
are we doing?" Like it's the right move because
The
that's
week 3
that
loss to Kansas City, right?
Yes, it was the
Yeah.
way they lost, right? And so I think that was a step in the right direction. Like again, people, all these coaches are still going to get their bag, okay? They're still going to get their bag. It's different from like regular people, like you and I, when we get cut, right?
I,
But I
I
also
wouldn't
think
mind getting cut if I can get the bag.
I'm just saying, but I also think when you think about the way they came into the season, right? Dyed hair, all of the bling, Chase going in and out about, whether he's going to play because he wanted a contract renegotiated after 2 years, just 2 years being into it. T. Higgins injuries, but also there's a question mark as to whether or not T. Higgins is going to be back, which is why I feel, again, Joe Burrow is in his NFL agency role with his own team, right? Because he knows, look, he likes that 5 wideout. He likes knowing who his pieces parts are. So I think even more than the move they made to dismiss their DC, they need to figure out who's going to be there for Joe Burrow to pass that ball to. I think that's paramount.
They got to run the ball too.
They do.
I gotta say this though.
Yeah, real quick.
That defensive coordinator had to go. They lost 2 close games to Baltimore, and also, I mean, they had 21-7 lead on Baltimore in the second time they played, and the Ravens came and caught them and passed them, and but I do blame the offense at times for getting conservative in that first Baltimore game. When Joe Burrow threw the interception, they got all conservative, had a chance to win that game in overtime, and they blew it. But at the end of the day, that defensive coordinator had to go. Washington blew them up. Jaden Daniels blew them up. A lot of teams blew them up. Russell Wilson in the first game blew them up. So they had to go. He had to go.
I agree. It definitely looks, and not the numbers is everything, but it definitely looks worse on you within the number of one-score games they were in, which the offense had to do everything they can to keep the team in the game. Trey Hendrickson is leading the league in sacks at 17.5, and yeah, your defense is still the main root of the problem within everything happening. And then lastly, regarding the Browns, as we know, not making the playoffs. However, they have decided to, hire an offensive coordinator in-house with Tommy Rees, who has prior experience within the offensive coordinator position, but in college. A couple seasons at Notre Dame, and then the 2023 season at Alabama. He spent this past year with the Browns as a tight ends coach and pass specialist. Thoughts within this? Because I'm not for it right now. I don't see it getting much better, or at least to where they would like it to be right now. So thoughts within this move?
For me, it's just this simple, right? Kevin Stefanski is the one that's calling the plays. Period. So the longer we have to endure that bleep, that sorry bleeping play calling, nothing's going to change. It's the true definition of insanity. Those are my thoughts on Mr. Rees's promotion to offensive coordinator.
Wow. That says it all. I have nothing to say.
All right. Well, with that being said, thank you all once again, for joining us tonight. Fear the North podcast. Appreciate everybody tuning in. We will be back Thursday, a special crossover episode with, hold on, let me just get it up for the lovely advertising so that you guys can see that logo. With Mafia Members Podcast, you see Bill's Mafia stand up. We're going to talk about it come Thursday, 8 p.m.
And
here.
Thank you, Ohio Gucci Mane. Thank you, Ronan. Thank you, I Am Wool. We so appreciate you guys for hanging out with us. We really do. And I know I get extra time, but I love me some NFL football. Let's go.
Thank you all. Salute. We appreciate everybody. If you guys are able to follow us on socials at Fear the North 4, at Fear the North 4, the number 4. You don't spell it, but you just put down the 4 because that's how many teams there are within the division. You can follow us on X, follow us on Blue Sky, follow us on Instagram. We're everywhere, and it's only up from here. And yes, we'll be back Thursday, 8 p.m. crossover with Mafia Members, previewing Buffalo Bills versus Baltimore Ravens. It'll be a lovely shake back crossover. Thank you guys again. Have a good night, and stay warm out there.
Media group, babies. Peace out. Woo!